Hi everybody, welcome to my real-time, my subscriber specials, final 18 minutes of Titanic. This is a video that's going to be showing how the Titanic's final 18 minutes went and everything that happened. It covers from 2:05 AM to 2:23 AM. I hope you enjoy. It's also based on my version 21 theory. As well, so please enjoy. It's 2:05 AM on board the Titanic. Panic is starting to break out and boat C is nearing the water. Boat C has been rubbing along the side of the Titanic due to a 10-degree port list since it began to lower to about 2 AM. The Titanic struck an iceberg earlier in the night at 11:40 PM and at 1:40 AM began to list over heavily to port. The vessel eventually reached at 1:45 AM 10 degrees, and by 1:50 to 1:55 it had worsened to 13 degrees, though it began to decrease since then. Meanwhile, boat D is also being loaded. All of a sudden, the forward set of lights, which extend up to the second funnel, snap out. This is noted by many passengers on board boat D. While boat C touches the water, Quartermaster Rowe noticed that the ship had gone down significantly during their lowering. Well, over on the port side, boat D is being loaded, but due to the forward set of lights going out, a panic starts. Well, Titanic's forecastle is almost under at this time. Well, a couple of minutes ago, Arthur Bright looked over and noted the forecastle was submerging. Well, Arthur Bright steps into boat D to prepare it for lowering. He also notes that the lights in the bow of the ship were out when their boat left. With boat C gone, work begins to prepare ramps to get boat A down. Boat D starts to lower. By now, water is starting to near the A-deck promenade. Further forward, boat 10 is nearly finished loading. The loading process, which had been going on since past 2 AM, since before 2 AM, had been a complete mess. Boat D starts to lower into the water. Well, this time as well, crew members Edward Bewley and Frank Evans board boat 10 to prepare it for lowering. Murdoch goes to the forward end to prepare boat A for loading. lowering, though it is never properly lowered. Well, boat 10 starts to lower. As they start to lower into water, Frank Evans notices that the red port light is only 10 feet from the water. According to Edward Bewley, by the time they hit the water, it's completely submerged. Meanwhile, Titanic's port list of 10 degrees very slightly diminishes to about 8 degrees, while Hugh Walner notices it and later describes it as rocking. Shortly afterwards, he sees boat D coming down past the deck. Boat D reaches the water, and as it starts to row away at about 2:10 a.m., Hugh Walner and Morris Stephenson jump in. According to Hugh Walner, about 9 feet. Well, the port list now on 8 degrees. Well, they both jump aboard. Hugh Walner also notes it's 2:15 a.m. according to his watch. However, since he timed the iceberg impact at 11:45 p.m, if we bring it to 11:40, then it'll bring the boarding. Well, when he boards boat D, it'll bring it to about 2:10 a.m. Further away in boat 1, George Simmons notices that the forward set of lights are out and gives the order to start to row away along with others, well as that everyone, they row away to a certain distance before continuing to watch Titanic sink. Sorry for coughing. Well, boat A is brought onto the deck. According to Edward Brown, they have issues pushing it up the deck due to the 8-degree port list. Also, due to forward set of lights being out, they can't see the funnel stays, though the emergency lights provide a bit of light to those on deck. Well, meanwhile, the last Marconi messages are sent from Titanic. Well, water is now flooding the A-deck promenade. Of water flooding the 8-deck promenade, well, boat 10 starts to near the water. Around this time as well, Charles Yelfgren is also in the pantry as well at this time. Thomas Ranger earlier slid down falls and got into boat 4. Boat 4 is quite close to the ship, so has to row away to quick rate. Frederick Scott has also jumped in as well. About this time, the last Marconi message is sent from Titanic, and the operators abandon their posts. They rush forward, basically, to help with boat B. They are ordered to help with boat B when they reach the deck. By now it's 2:13 a.m. Boat 10 has reached the water. According to Frank Evans, when they reach there, they have to unhook the falls. One of the survivors in boat 10, Cornelia Andrews, later also in her account made it seem like the crew at boat 10 were only wanting to save themselves, but I doubt this happened. By now, boat B is pushed over onto the deck. It lands upside down. Well, junior operator Harold Bride is on the deck and he starts to... Well, however, due to the boat, water's flooding the deck as well. The the port side bridge wing, is flooding already, submerging the red port light, so it's no longer visible according to Edward Bewley. Well, boat 10 is pretty close to the ship. During a break, was able to get a bit further away. Well, this time as well, the band are heard playing their last song, Nearer My God to Thee. It's debated though which version they played. Some depictions, or some show Horbury, others show Propadio, though we know it wasn't Bethany, even though it was shown in the film Titanic. Well, boat 1 stops rowing away at this stage and they continue to watch the vessel sink. Well, George Sinnams watches from the boat as well. Well, boat 2, meanwhile, rounded the propellers earlier, though it's been debated whether or not they actually went under them, but is anyway rowing away pretty fast, basically. Well, boat 10 is quite close to the ship. About this time, a bang is heard and Titanic returns to an even keel, eliminating a port list. While some survivors noted that the decks even seemed to rise a few feet out of the water. Titanic briefly careens from a 1 degree starboard back to 3 degrees port, for listing again to starboard. This gives the illusion to those on forward port boat deck that the deck rose. Titanic starts to plunge down as well. The middle lights snap out as well, followed shortly after by the saloon circuits, leading some inner boats to think the ship broke earlier before the 4 funnels fell. Well, first funnel topples forward and starboard. Half submerged in water reaches its base. Titanic takes the top can to the stern, comes well out of water. Second funnel also topples as well. Well, the Titanic continues to sink quickly and soon waters around third funnel. Well, Titanic also starts to fail a bit, leading to the deckhouse forming, causing these lights to go out. Another bang is heard and then Titanic breaks into 3. Well, the third funnel topples into the water shortly after the stern settles back, though I accidentally had it before. Sorry about that. Well, basically, a rumbling sound is heard as well, and then the forward tower falls off as well. Several boilers also break out of the ship as well. Well, one of the engine cylinders does, forming a port list. The aft tower remains attached due to the forward tower falling at the surface. This causes debate as to whether among the survivors as to whether Titanic broke in the middle, forward of the first funnel, or aft. Fourth funnel, however, survives the breakup, which is noted by many survivors on the boats. While the stern starts to rise at this stage, its port list becomes heavier, allowing it to pivot. Well, throughout this stage as well, due to the weight difference at the front of the stern section, this causes it to swing a bit as well, helping with the pivot. Well, Jack Thayer at boat B notices the second funnel touching the water, fourth funnel touching the water, and goes on to recall he does not believe it fell. He had earlier survived the second funnel collapse. In one account he mentioned it falling before the break, but other accounts he mentioned it falling after the break in his 1940 account. Well, some theories show it falling after the break, but he more likely saw it before the break, since the other account was due to memory fog. Well, Titanic's stern is now at 65 degrees, where it remains there for a minute. Well, the emergency lights also went out shortly after the break, shortly after the afterlights went out. There's been debate as to whether or not there was an oil lamp at the stern. However, I don't believe there was an oil lamp, because several survivors seem to have mistook the lights going out as the ship disappearing. And I don't think that'd be likely if there is an oil lamp there. The aft tower also had earlier collapsed onto its port side. It dislodges further as well. The aft tower, though, likely came off in the descent since it's near to the stern section. Well, Titanic's stern is now pivoted 110 degrees. Well, a bit of screaming is heard as well. Well, due to the swinging of the stern section, several witnesses don't notice the break due to the pivot. Well, water is also almost covering the superstructure, at least on A deck completely, and nearly all on A and B deck covering it. Something else debated is whether or not the stern imploded after it went under. I'm not too sure about this, because some said it was silent after it went under, while others said it imploded, though those that said it imploded could have been witnessing the false plunge phenomenon, along with the false break, and also phenomenon. Well, for those, and if the stern did implode, it was likely small scale, since a lot of it would have already been flooded. The stern finally starts to go down. Well, further rumbling sounds heard. Stern finally goes under as most of the remaining air escapes the stern. And finally, by 2:23 AM, Titanic's stern has got under fully. The time as to when stern went down has been debated. It was originally thought to be 2:20. However, studies of some testimonies, and especially those that said the stern was afloat for 5 minutes after the break, for full 5 minutes after the break, and those that said they got a considerable distance before the ship sank. Basically, it's been agreed upon that it might have gone under slightly later, maybe at 2:20, between 2:22 and 2:23 for most enthusiasts. For me, 2:23 is when it goes under. This video is dedicated to 1,496 souls that lost their lives on board Titanic. May you all rest in peace. Hope you enjoyed the video as well.